Hey, welcome to episode number 256 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast. We are recording on December the 15th, 2024. My name is Eric, host of the show based in Southern Ontario, hunter, target shooter, ham radio operator, and of course, computer geek. As first responder, witness an over-reliance on emergency services during major events and started a small preparedness company to help people get better prepared for at least 72 hours, if not longer.
My name's Pierre. I'm a tactical beard owner, base t-shirt merchant, government critique, and the reason we hit the explicit button.
All the time.
Hello, I'm new here, so I'll introduce myself. My name is Pat. I'm from South Central Nebraska. Farmer, rancher, hunter, shooter, ATV enthusiast, prepper, and since COVID, I've really tried to up my prepping game because of things just like that. And I now am suspect of all drones. Anyway.
Well, welcome to this side of things, Pat. You're not new here. You've been around for quite a while in the chat side of the house. You just you kind of moved over on the side of the screen from text over into live person with a camera. So
you got a promotion. Doesn't come with anything extra.
I've come over to the dark side.
Fair enough, if you want to put it that way. Hey, if you want to help support the show, you can buy some swag. We've got both the Canadian Prepper Podcast t-shirt and the tactical Velcro patch available at preapredness.ca. All the proceeds do help cover our podcast costs, because believe it or not, it does cost a few bucks to do this, especially when we have guests like Pat.
Yeah, it's the American thing. It's the conversion. Yeah, our economy.
I get it.
If you're enjoying the show, please take a few minutes and submit a review wherever you found us. We want your feedback, even if it's bad. We also invite you to reach out and tell us about something you learned this week. You can email us at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca.
All right, so we've got some chili content for you in this episode, and we're not talking about the type you can eat. We're going to start off with some relevant news articles. We'll update you on our personal preps. We're going to get into the main topic. And yep, we're touching on winter preparedness again. We're doing it bunker style because Pat's here. So in the news, if you've been living under a rock, you probably haven't heard about this, but there's some drones hanging out in the States. You know, get your tinfoil hat on, because the thoughts are all over the place on this one. But good reminder to just always kind of be aware of your surroundings and what's normal. There we go. Pat's got the tinfoil. I like it. Always know what's going around you in normal times, because if some weird things start to happen, you'll know that they're weird versus just something that usually happens.
Yep. So I apparently lived under a rock because I had no fucking clue this was going on.
Oh, it's been all over for at least the last week or so.
Oh,
yeah.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to go down a rabbit hole tomorrow, I guess. But
yeah, do it. Yeah. S2 Underground does a pretty good breakdown of everything and what's going on, as he always does. So it's worth watching that. And it's just kind of funny to watch. So, but some really good conspiracy theories. You can go down some pretty deep rabbit holes with this one. One of them is going to be right. It's just a matter of which one. Right, so
get your bingo card out. See if you get a bingo
card. Yep, exactly. from weather balloons to drones. Here we go.
Yep, and there's nothing funnier than three guys out in the lawn from New Jersey saying it's a plane or it's a drone. It's the funniest comedy act I've ever seen. No, it's a plane. No, it's a freaking drone. It's coming down.
That sounds like a fun drinking game, actually. Maybe when it's a little bit nicer weather out here, I'll get the little lawn chairs out, sit on the front lawn, 2-4 a beer, and play the game. Is it a drone or is it an airplane?
You had me at drinking.
I figured as much. All right, with that, let's move on to what we've done lately for preps, shall we? So for myself, reloaded some 9mm because I ran out, which is good thing but bad thing. It means I had a lot of time at the range, but I had to load some more, and then I ran out of projectiles, so I went and bought more projectiles because that's a thing to do. So I've got 1,000 coming, so I should be good for a little while, I think. Hope. I know they're baby numbers, but you got to start somewhere.
Depends how close those drones hit.
Well, depends. Like, I guess if there's 1,001, I got a problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As for myself, got a few things tidied up around the house. Noticed last year we had a few drafts and we just cranked the heat up and then deal with the drafts. So, move some stuff out of the way, get into those corners, put some foam in there, reseal, put some duct tape and some good heavy duty plastic around some of those seals or whatever. And I've already noticed the difference because it was pretty nice the other day and it was cold as fuck this morning and it didn't feel as cold where normally that draft was on those temperatures. So
there's the explicit button, 5 minutes and 38 seconds in.
We had it 3 minutes and something. You just didn't pick up on it.
Fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So doing that. Food, stocking up on some food. Got some snow the other day. Nothing crazy, but always topping up the extras. Seeing what $20-$30 adventure can we do every time we go out and stock up and either prevent having to go get something in a storm, or if a snowstorm gets us in, we don't have to worry about splitting portions. We can still eat regular meals and enjoy the time at home.
And Pat.
And as for me, just cutting wood for the bunker, trying to keep both of my wood houses full, so that way when it does get super cold and super snowy out, I don't have to go out and cut wood for like 2 months. So, kind of the same thing as Eric. They had a pretty good run on some ammo somewhere down here in the States and could not pass it up because I couldn't reload it for that. So, went ahead and purchased some of that too. And just some more food preps and stuff. Just making sure the bunker down here stays stocked up. And that's about all on my end so far.
Very nice. I like it. I like the fact that you're recording with us from the bunker. That's just fantastic.
Yep.
The only place I know. It's safer down here.
Well, with that, we got through that pretty quick. Look what happens when the rest of the crew just chooses to not show up. We're efficient. We're fast. We're quick. I like it. It's good.
We hit the explicit button earlier.
We did. Yeah, we hit it earlier. We got through things quicker. This is good. So we're into the main topic. So main topic this evening, we're touching on winter survival again. Yes, we did it an episode or two ago, but Old Man Winter is definitely showing up, especially in this area. I don't know about in your area there, Pat, but in this area, he came in with a vengeance, and there's a lot of snow real quick here. So I figured, you know what, why not? We'll touch on it again, and it's something Pat wanted to talk about as well. So it's not going away. It's going to be here for a while, so we may as well discuss it a few times and really hammer home some preparedness stuff for the winter seasons. And I know some of you guys listening in the southern states always email about, why don't you talk about hot season stuff? We'll get there once the summer comes around. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
For now, it's cold here. It's a Canadian podcast, so we're talking about winter. Maybe we'll let you start things off there, Pat, and then we'll do our typical just banter about with the panelists about different things. And I know you've got a couple of things you want to touch on, a few stories you want to talk about, so we'll let you run with it for a bit.
Alrighty. Well, first thing, like I mentioned before, I am a farmer and I am a rancher out here. Got quite a few head of cattle and stuff out this way, and it'll get just about as cold as where some of you guys are at. Maybe not as long, but it definitely still gets super, super cold. Just taking care of your animals, especially out there. And whether it's your pet cat, your dog's outside, or if you've got horses or cows, sheep, chickens, everything. Especially big on cows around here. Making sure that they've got a good windbreak, and that goes for any animal as far as that goes. Just a place where they can get in and out of the wind, especially when that wind gets to howling and it gets down to like minus 30 or 40. I don't know what that is in Canadian units, but I use freedom units. So
I think we can all agree on it. It's cold.
Yeah, it's just cold. It's colder than And then anatomy, I will not say. But yeah, and making sure, especially when comes to water for all your animals and stuff. Whether you've got to go out there and break it every single day, or even 2 to 3 times a day, depending on the wind, or having heated bowls for all your animals outside. I know a lot of people have sheepdogs and they don't necessarily do very well inside. They like to sleep outside when it's super, super cold, but always making sure that they've got water too out there. And if you do have electric dog bowls, or if your water fountains, like on a bigger scale for cows and stuff like that, always checking that water. Always checking that water, because man, even as cold as it is and they don't drink as much, man, they can go downhill in one heck of a hurry if they don't have water. I've seen it.
Interesting.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, that's an interesting point. I don't think I've ever heard of heated water bowls before. That's yeah, of all the times we touched on winter preparedness, animal preparedness, and they always interject. Yeah, heated water bowls. That's yeah, never heard of that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, actually, you can buy if you go just about to any little farm and ranch place, like down here, we've got Baumgars or Tractor Supply. You know, the typical ones here in the States. It just looks like a metal horseshoe with a little black block on it, and you can throw that into the water bowl, or you can actually get a bowl that has a heating element already built in underneath of it.
Huh.
And I've ran those for several years. But now my only outside dog is gone, has passed. My two German Shepherds, Eric's seen them.
Yeah.
They are indoor queens, especially the one. So they just go outside to go potty. The one will sleep on a snowbank, no problem. The other one doesn't get about more than 5 foot away from the wife. So, but no, they work great. I've had those waters go down all the way to dang near -40 and still keep the water open. So, yeah, but anyway, that's just some tips and stuff on water for animals and stuff outside. Especially if you have livestock.
You had mentioned like windbreaks, etc., for animals. Another good thing to kind of maybe expand on a bit. How do you build one of those up, or how do you make one, or what is it made of?
Well, here's the greatest thing. You can build windbreaks out of just about anything. Old well pipe, you can stack it up, bury a couple, make a wall. You can do it with old irrigation pipe. You can take hay bales and build a wall. And we have to do that in one spot out in our pasture because there's just no trees. And they just cannot get out of the wind when that wind starts howling out of the northwest. Just building an L shelter like that, 2 bales high like that, man, that really helps out a lot. I'll tell a quick story here. We had a really, really bad snowstorm here last year, and there was a pretty hard cutoff, and it filled the roads up and everything. They wound up bringing 5-ton trucks with 12-foot plows on them. You know, probably you guys probably see it a lot more than I do down here, but people had their cattle stuck out on stocks for they couldn't get to them for a week. And they couldn't get there with the 4-wheeler. They couldn't get there with pickup. They had to dig all the way out with the tractor, you know, and that took a lot of time because they had to clear the highways and clear the gravel roads before they could even think about getting to some of these other farmers' fields. And it's like making sure your water's on a timer, so that way they always get water every single day. That's a real big one, especially if you get cut off. They get cut off. I've seen too many cattle die and stuff, and heard too many stories of bad storms coming in and people not being prepared with their animals and not having a backup plan. Having extra hay or leaving a tractor at the site with the generator, so that way they can fire the generator up, warm the tractor up, feed the cattle when all those stocks get buried and stuff. So, yeah, I've heard too many stories that I never want to be in that situation with any of my cattle, because man, that would be a disaster. So.
Oh, fair enough. Yep, that's me in the live chat's got an interesting comment as well. Mentions siliconed a 150-watt heater to the bottom of our chicken waterer. Just a bit too much. Maybe 70-watt will be a bit better. Oops.
Just cut the heater you have in half. It'll be 70 at that point.
Oh yeah, that's how that works.
Yeah.
Or just
Oh.
continue to boil the water for the chickens, or maybe just put the chickens in the boiled water. Now you got chicken soup, right? That's how that works, right?
I did not know how that worked. Oh, okay.
Just put it on low. Silly.
I was trying.
But yeah, continuing with the livestock and stuff. As far as food and stuff goes, we put up a lot of hay and wet distillers and stuff, and everything. Especially our fountain water. We have great big lots down here where most of them are kept. Yeah, just keep a check on that water. Sorry, my voice is a little crackly and everything. Just nursing a cold over here, so we'll see how long my voice holds out.
Okay.
No worries.
So, anybody else got anything to add to that one?
Well, it's interesting for looking after the animals. Like I said, the windbreak is a good idea. The heated water bowl is just it's such a simple solution. I don't know why I ever didn't consider that. It's just so easy, but hey, at least we got it now.
Yeah, and the best part about those heaters is if your bowl runs dry, whether it's a tossed in one or one that has the heating element built into it, they will not burn up. So
good to know.
At least on the lower wattage ones, they will. I don't know about the bigger ones.
Challenge accepted.
All right.
Sounds like a Tim Taylor thing. Home
improvement. My power.
Yeah.
Burn put a hole in the bottom of that bowl.
One thing I'll add, maybe not only consider animals if you've got the area, or you've got the material to build yourself that little windbreak. If you get crappy weather, or you're like me that'll still barbecue when it's winter, maybe making yourself a little windbreak where you can cook outside if need be. You run out of power and you need to run some propane stuff, you can run a heater. Nothing sucks more than barbecuing when it's minus 20, but it sucks even more when it's crazy wind in your face, or messing with the temperature of the barbecue and blowing the flame out halfway through cooking steaks or chicken or whatever you're doing on the barbecue. So even obviously think of the cattle first or livestock first, but if you can, try and get that, and if you've got the room for it, make yourself a little windbreak to just not make it as miserable as it can be.
Are you suggesting I shouldn't barbecue inside my house?
Depends. Do you have
There we go. I had to walk you into that one. It had to happen.
Right. So no, you shouldn't. At least not proper ventilation, blah, blah, blah. You can have propane gas stoves, blah, blah, blah. Not everybody has that. So
windbreak outside just makes a lot more sense, I think. A little bit safer.
As long as you have a carbon monoxide tester.
Alan's smiling somewhere.
Yes, he is.
Yes.
Yeah. As far as winter preparedness goes, what else do we have on the list of stuff? Animals, obviously, huge thing to look after. Most of them, like your livestock and such that you've got are used to being outside. Most, suburbanized animals like to be inside, obviously, but can be put outside too if they need to be, and they'll survive. They'll be fine. But I know what you mean about the German Shepherds. Like, I had one as well, and they're big sucks. They'll pretend like they want to be inside all the time, but if you throw them outside, they'll survive. They'll be okay. But what else? Yeah, they'll figure it out. What else do we have on the list for some winter preps?
Let's see. Vehicles. I know I did send you the message. Being on the trail, whether you're on a sled or whether you're on a four-wheeler, or it doesn't matter. If you're like me, I still like to get out. I have a ATC collection. I'm an old school Honda three-wheeler collector. So I do like to go for rips out on the snow and even onto the ponds with ice and stuff like that, take the kids and stuff like that. But if you go on a big trail ride, especially if you're getting a little ways from home, never hurts just to throw some extra stuff in your ATV or your sled or whatever you're going to be using. Like now in my account, like if you're on a 4-wheeler or side by side or something like that, especially going through trails and stuff, it is super, super easy to get a long ways out and get a flat tire. So make sure you either pack a small air compressor with you. You can buy those little 12-volt ones, and most ATVs don't take but 3 to 4 pounds of air pressure to air back up anyway. And tire plugs. It's super, super simple to pack away in the back end or strap it down. And because I've been bit on that more than once, I get to an old pond or something like that, and I go skating around and stuff. Inevitably, beavers shoot off those nice little growths right beside the bank, hit one of those that's froze, stab, tire flat. What do you do? Now, like
AAA.
where I live, what's that?
Just call AAA.
Oh, you mean I've been doing it wrong all these years?
Yeah, you've been doing it wrong the whole time.
Oh, come on, man. Why didn't I think of that?
Just people out.
Geez. That's way too easy. I can't do that. I'm dumb and stupid, so I like things tough. What's the old saying? If you're gonna be dumb, you better be tough.
You got some valid points there, especially just bringing some small little things along. Planning out your trip. If you're just bombing around the yard, or if you got some property and some space, and you're just taking your ATV or your snowmobile or whatever play toy it is you've got out for a rip, and you can still see the house, you don't have to bring a lot of stuff with you because you can walk back to the house. But if you keep getting further and further out, and you know that you're going to go for a longer trip, well, yeah, pack a few common sense things with you, because then you're ready to go. You mentioned being out on the ice. It's obviously something you're going to come across. I used to always, when I had my snowmobile before it blew up a couple of years ago, I always had little ice picks that were on a string that would just run along my arm, and I'd have them in the sleeves of my jacket, right? So if I did end up going through the ice at some point, I could grab onto the side of the ice with the ice picks there and at least pull myself out. Something to think about, because you don't want to think about going through the ice, but if it happens, that's going to suck real bad, and you want to get out quick, right? So having the ability to do that, it's just a couple of small little things in your sleeves ready to go.
Yeah, I would say at that point, very good thing to have is go get yourself a very good dry bag and keep it on your back. Change of clothes, something to make a fire, maybe a tarp, make yourself a little wood shelter if you need to make fire. Obviously, a ham radio. Can't go without that.
Well, I wasn't going to come out with that right off the hop, but I'm sure those ice picks would antenna if I wanted to do it.
Yeah. Right. Just a dry bag, just in case. Even if you're not planning on going on water, spare socks, underwear, pants, long johns, something warm, something to keep warm, something to make a fire. Ideally, some way of getting in touch with someone. Radio, if you've got friends. Let them know you're going out. Keep the radio on. Keep it turned off in the dry bag. They're not crazy expensive. I mean, you can buy a dry bag that just goes in a regular bag, or you can buy the really fancy dry bags. They're what, 40, 50-ish bucks that you could probably fit all this in.
Roll it up, American, that's bag. $5.
Yeah, that's roughly. They probably give you money to buy it. Compared to have to do. But yeah, just something like that. Find yourself a durable bag. You feel okay getting wet, and make sure you keep all that stuff dry. I'm sure it can make a difference, because you guys are crazy going on ice. Like, fuck that. I don't give a shit if it's 2 feet thick. I'm good. I'll stay on the
ice. Always makes me nervous. Always.
100%.
Especially on the sled. Like, I don't like it. Yeah.
Now I can see that, because most of the stuff that I run, if I bail off of it, especially my 3-wheelers, they're going to float, even with me on it. So if I break through, I'm staying on it until I can jump off, because I've done a lot of river crossings and stuff like that on my 3-wheelers, and I've got one that's heavily, I guess, waterized, so that way it can't get swamped out. And but most of the places that I go on ice and stuff like that is the ponds that I know. Now, if there's a body of water that I'm not used to, I don't go on it. This is stuff I've been going on for years, and I know how many days at one temperature that this ice will stay thick, and I'm not going to have to
Right.
worry about going through. So,
Yeah.
but always test the ice too. I mean, if it's something
Yep.
you're worried about, go out there and test, and you don't have any choice, test it. So,
Yeah.
Oh, 100%. We've got JJR in the live chat with a comment about the new pellet hot tent stoves. I think it's a green stove, very well built. So I haven't seen those yet. So
No, me
I've heard
neither.
good things about pellet stoves for like heating houses and stuff, but I didn't know they had small ones for in a hot tent. So that's good to know.
Yeah, and I also like the comment under that. Make sure to have baling wire and
Oh.
duct tape for the Fords in the
Yes,
group.
Douglas V Amateur Radio and more. Yeah, make sure they have the baling wire and duct tape for the Fords in the group. He's also made a couple of comments here about. Let's see, we've got in the desert, water is usually a concern. Yeah, it's true. And it does mention about some heat stuff as well, because there's always that one guy.
It's like, oh, I don't know what cold is. Like,
Yeah, I don't know what cold is. Yeah,
Yeah.
we got to come down and visit one day and show us what the heat's like down there, because yeah, it's cold here right now.
Yeah, we'll come up in February and then we'll go down in
Yeah.
July.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sounds fair to me.
Yeah.
yep, prepare to sweat a lot.
Yep. Oh yeah. Nope.
Prepare to not sweat when you come up in February.
Okay, here we go. So he mentions that he has felt minus 20 Fahrenheit before. So, okay, we're getting there.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. So swinging back around to the vehicles. So touched on ATVs, the side-by-sides, the sleds, all that kind of stuff. But that can also apply to your vehicle, right? That's going to be probably your priority means of transportation, like the side-by-sides, the sleds and such. Usually kind of a recreational type of transportation. Not for everybody. Some people use those as primary transportation this time of year, but mostly you're still going to be driving your vehicle to most places. So having all the same kind of things in there, because when you leave in your vehicle, yeah, it's a common travel route that you take every day to and from work, or to and from your friend's house, or to and from wherever it is you're going. But you're a considerable distance away from home usually. So bringing those things with you on that trip, even though it's such a normal trip and nothing's ever happened and everything's always gone fine for X amount of years, having some of that stuff with you, the snacks, the hand warmers, the map, the phone, the communications, all of that as well is handy, because eventually something's going to happen. Let's face it, in poor snowy type of weather, something will happen eventually, whether it's just you slide off the road, or you get stuck because somebody else slid off the road, or power
Ford
outages
is broken
happen
down in front of you.
A Ford is broken down in frnt of you, and now you're stuck for a bit. It can happen. So having that
I
stuff.
have a funny story about that coming up.
Go for it, Pat. It's all you.
Go for it.
Please tell me Terry got stuck in front of you once.
Yes.
Okay. And just dovetailing off of what Eric said, during that time, make sure somebody knows exactly when you leave work and are coming home. Make sure at least somebody, even if you live alone, single guy or whatever, at least let somebody know what that route is, and the weather. The weather is a big factor, because here comes the Ford part. I used to travel for work about an hour and 15 minutes away from my house, and about 45 minutes of that travel, zero, and I mean zero communications whatsoever. No cell phone, no data. I mean nothing. I mean, it was just a hole out there in the middle of nowhere. And this particular road had sides that went like this on each side of the road, about half of the drive. I mean, just sheer drop offs into creeks. I mean, nasty, super, super nasty. Coming home one night, didn't look at the weather good enough. I should have. This was before apps and everything like that you could have on your phone and everything. So smartphones really weren't a thing yet. But I was coming home, and it just progressively got worse and worse. And the snow kept building up and building up and building up. And it was one of those deals. I drove so far and could hardly see anything that I couldn't physically turn around. That there was just not room on this road to get stopped. Two-wheel drive car, even though it was bi-directional tires with steel studs on it and a limited slip rear end. I could not turn around, and that was probably the scariest drive of my whole entire life because I couldn't even barely see the road signs and the bridge signs and stuff. I mean, it's white knuckled all the way. Road's not cleared. So yeah, just check the weather before you go. There's no excuse for it now. Everybody has a smartphone. Download a frickin' app. Keep an eye on it. You know, there's no excuse for it nowadays. There is. So,
Yeah.
but the Ford part, I wanted to stop so bad to help this guy out. He had his hazards on, and it didn't look like he was stuck. He was in a Ford Ranger 4x4. He had good tires and everything on it. But as I went by, I was like, I'll never get started again. I'm going to sink. I'm going to get stuck. And I was having to go between 35 to 40 miles per hour just to keep enough steam up so that way I didn't get stuck. So I didn't have a choice. I couldn't slow down. So even though in your brain you're thinking, well, he might need help, you know, sometimes you can't. I mean, sometimes it's like, well, good luck. I mean, I can't stop. So I know
I'm gonna
sometimes
worry.
people like to be nice.
Yeah, I'm gonna worry about me before I worry about helping other people.
Yeah.
It sucks to say that, nobody wants to admit it. But at the end of the day, if you're gonna stop to help someone and now you're both screwed compared to you being able to keep going and relay info is always best. I'm always gonna worry about myself and my family first. And if I can, and you know, you're not the douchebag neighbor that nobody likes, like I'll probably help out. But other than that, like, in those scenarios, right, you can have all the gear you want, you can have all the tow straps and all the spikes and everything in your vehicle, but you do need to assess it. It's like, okay, well, let's say this is a half hour from now. What's the conditions going to be like in half an hour? Am I going to be able to keep going? Because if the answer is no, then I'm just going to be in the same scenario, or both of us are. Now there's two hazards on the road, and this, that. So I'll always think of yourself and your safety first. Like if you need to, worry about you, worry about others second. It sucks to say, but in those scenarios, you're way better off.
Yeah, and that's a tricky mindset to get into, but you're bang on 100% correct. If you, in that scenario that Pat just explained, if you stop and help that Ford driver, and then you're stuck as well because you're driving, I'm going to assume a Ford as well. Now what, right? You can't. You're not going to be able to help anybody if you are stuck, and now you're stuck with that other person that was stuck. Versus if you go by them, realize, okay, they need help. You're not being a shitty person by going by them and continuing to go and getting them help when you get to a position where you can better help them.
Yeah.
You're literally helping them that way versus putting two people in a bad spot. So it's a really weird mindset to get over because everybody or majority of people are good people. I like to think anyways. They want to stop and help. But you might actually make the situation worse. So it's you got to think about that and realize that you can still help, but you can help 30 minutes down the road when you're in a safer location where you can actually make a phone call or relay that somebody back there needs assistance, and then you can carry on your way. You're not completely ignoring the person, I guess is what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, because the best thing I did is going by him, and we were literally right in the middle of the dead zone. So I mean, there was no carrier down there at any point at that. So when I got across the state line back into my state to head back home, I stopped. There was a little town just right across the state line, and I let the officers and everybody, I knew the officers there, and I said, well, there's a guy, he's stuck down there. I don't know what happened. He's got hazards and everything on. Can you send somebody out to go check on him? That's the best thing that I could do at that point.
Yep. So you did something. That's all that matters, right?
Right. Right. So, just plan ahead and let everybody know where you're going to be at. That's the best two things that you can do.
So we've got a good point in the live chat here, put in by Shelter, Fire, Water, First Aid, and Rescue. All very good things.
Yes.
Says, don't leave water in the car overnight in cold temps. Surprise, is everybody ready for this? It freezes.
That's
Also,
why
if
in
you
the
leave food in
winter.
the car.
Yeah, but in the winter, that's why you replace your water with whiskey. It doesn't freeze.
Yes. It's fine then. Yeah, it just gets
Yeah.
really cold and then it's really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mind blown.
You go on to mention, and this is actually pretty good. I like this
Yeah.
comment as well. Also, if you leave food in the car, have it in biteable sizes. Because you ever tried to like bite into a frozen chocolate bar?
Yeah.
Okay.
Frozen chocolate bar or granola bar. Like throw a granola bar
granola
in the
bar.
freezer overnight and try and have it for breakfast.
Protein bar,
Yeah.
anything, right?
Anything. Yeah.
But if it's in biteable sizes, you can just pop that in your mouth. It'll warm up on its own at that point, and then away you go. That is a brilliant comment. I like that.
Yeah, that was very good. I read that earlier. And I was like, oh, I don't want to forget about that. Yeah. It's very, very good.
Yeah, and it actually goes on here to mention very difficult to chew if chocolate bars are frozen. 100%.
Yes.
That's just brilliant. I like it. Sometimes it's just the small things you don't think about that could just take an entire situation where you're sitting there going, this is really bad, and I just want to be able to eat. And I can't even eat because I have this stupid thing that's frozen. But if I'd only chopped it up when it wasn't frozen, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Little tips like that are always just fantastic.
Yeah. Or now you're walking around with 10 granola bars in your armpits, in your crotch, right? Like to try and warm them up. Like,
well, if that's where you want to keep your granola bars, you can keep that on your OnlyFans, all right?
Well,
I don't have to share it then. But
that's right.
But just talking about like that's where it produces the most heat, right? Like if your hands
Of
get
course,
cold, those are where you go. So
yeah, I know what you're getting at.
But yeah, right. And now you're using that body heat that you're trying to keep to unthaw that. So now hypothermia can set in quicker and all. So yeah, if you can, mitigate some of those things by just cracking everything down. Genius idea. Ziplocs. Go to the dollar store, buy containers.
Yep.
Problem solved.
I like it. Solving problems tonight.
Yeah.
All right. What else do we have on your list there, Pat, for winter preparedness stuff?
Kind of did the car prep and everything. Just to finish it off. One of the biggest killers on vehicles in the cold weather, batteries. Batteries, they die, they explode, they get weak. I've seen it a lot of times. I in a previous life, I used to be a diesel mechanic, so I've had a lot of dead tractors that would not start during cold weather and everything. And treat your diesel, people. Treat your diesel.
Yes.
And block off the cooler. That is the easiest way. If your vehicle has a diesel cooler on the front of it, along with all the other coolers up front, tarp it all off. That'll save you so much when you get going down the road. It's like, oh, I've got to treat it. Oh, wait a minute. Everything's freezing up. It's stopping. What's wrong? Yeah. Well, all that cold air going across there, you just froze everything up.
Yeah.
So
get a bra for it.
Yep.
Go buy a bra. Exactly. Put her on.
Yep. That's what I told the wife the other day. But anywho.
Oh yeah. I
told her.
Pick that one up. We couldn't leave that comment sit.
No. That's what they call them. They call them bras for the front of it. Yeah, it was hilarious. When I used to be an automotive apprentice, and we were helping out one of the sales guys putting one of those on, and we were like 2-3 people, and we were like trying to stretch these things because they're a bit of a pain to put on, right? And it was hilarious because one of the sales lady came in, she's like, "Takes that many of you to put it on? How many does it take for you guys to take a bra off?" We're like, "Man, get out of here!" Like, it was just crazy.
Well, talking about batteries and cold weather and all that fun stuff, JJR in the live chat makes a good point. Booster packs are great to have around, and have they ever changed from back in the days where you had to carry the big, huge, heavy honking battery pack?
The thing that this big?
Yeah, it was basically another battery with some booster cables attached to it. Now you can get those small little guys, and they'll boost your car 4 or 5 times before you got to charge them again.
Yep.
Fantastic. If you don't have one, go get one.
Yes,
they're great.
Yes, they're way too cheap nowadays. Even the cheaper ones that you can actually, once you get your vehicle started, if it's a little bit low or something, then plug it right back into your vehicle, right through the cigarette lighter, and boom,
Yep.
you're charging it right back up. Keep it. And most of those, the great thing about, especially a lot of the newer ones versus the older ones, have USB plugs on them.
Yep.
So instead of running your car or something like that, you can always charge your phone or communication gear or something like that. So it's a great tool to have.
Yeah.
I have a couple of them, and they've saved my bacon a couple of times.
Yeah.
Yep. I've got a little NOCO one, and you can get them at Canadian Tire, and they're fantastic. They charge off a USB, but they've also got the USB-A ports. So if you want to charge your mobile devices off them, you can. But there's been a few times where it saved my bacon. I've boosted the car, bring it back into the car is running. I can just plug the booster pack into the car with the USB port, charge the booster pack up while the car is also charging its battery back up while I'm driving wherever I got to go. And then I've got a full booster pack ready to go again. And we're good. Like they're fantastic little devices. There's no excuse not to have one. They're just shy of, like, you get them for $125, $150 now, roughly.
Yeah, they've
Why
gone
not?
down
Like,
in price a lot.
Oh, huge.
I will touch on those a little bit. So
Sure.
most of them are designed where people say, "Oh, it'll start a V6." Not recommended for V8s. Not recommended for certain diesels. They'll probably work. They're probably just not going to work great, and you'll probably kill them really, really fast. So if you've got the funds, yeah, sure, get the one that'll start, like, a Peterbilt. And if you want to, but at bare minimum, you want something that'll start your vehicle, and then you can help other people if need be. Most of that is all related to amps, cold cranking amps, how much draws on the battery, how much it takes to start, a 6.5 liter V8 compared to a 1.6 liter Honda. There's a big power draw difference and all that stuff. So yes, probably all of them will do it on okay days, but crazy, crazy, crazy cold days, wonky battery that's got a crazy draw on it and very low, that $100 one might not work, and you saved $50 because you needed the $150 one. So do the best you can to really accommodate the booster pack that you're buying to start the biggest vehicle you have, right? Say you've got a little Neon or a Micra, and you've got, like, a 2500 HD. Buy one that'll start the 2500 HD, and it's just going to start the Micra like 1,000 times compared to 10. Yeah. So they'll all probably start, but just when you really need it. Say you didn't charge it long enough and you started, 2 other people's cars. Now you don't have the juice to start your own. It's not going to be any good for you. So
exactly.
Yeah.
I had to go rescue Jeff with mine once because his Toyota died.
Yeah.
Just saying, Toyotas die just the same as Fords do.
Yep. And guess who showed up to save the day?
The Chevy, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Melissa did mention keep a jet boil if you've got one of them. Those things pack crazy easy. Crack a window because you're burning something. Yeah, jet boil, those things are fantastic. Or you can buy those I can't remember, chafing dish warmers, the gel ones. Don't buy the liquid ones, especially if you're going to do that. The gels, you just put the lid on and at least get that some heat. So if you don't have the money for the jet boil, you can buy those in 12 packs at pretty much Canadian Tires, I think, Walmart's, a lot of places like that. They work for a few hours. I've gone hunting with them and put some molasses and brown sugar and everything, and, like, in a can, and this thing was boiling for 3 hours, like, made a giant mess everywhere. Bears smelt it hours after I was out of the stand, obviously. But they do work very well. So either way if you've already got a jet boil or you want one and you're like, hey, I'm going to do that, they're very compact, proprietary fuel. Make sure you've got it. Make sure the fuel's good for the temperature it's in. It might need to be in a bag that comes in every night. But yeah, keep an eye on that.
Melissa also mentions in the live chat here to keep some crayons in the vehicle. Not only helps keep the kiddos busy, but can help with some heat too if you need it. So fantastic point.
Yeah. And depending on the people you're with, snacks for them.
Well, there's that too. Yep.
Yeah, and that was going to be my one of the things that I was going to cover. And she brings up a good point. entertainment, because you may not necessarily want to be running your phone all the time, especially if you're in a low cell phone coverage area and your phone's having to work harder to get signal. And that happens around here a lot. When you get into low signal, it eats battery quicker.
Mhm.
Just bring a couple things like cards or something, because, if you are stuck out there and somebody knows that you are out there, but they can't get to you for a couple of hours, have a little entertainment, have some cards or something that you can play. Just something little, because there's nothing worse sitting in a frozen car, knowing you're going to be rescued, but you're bored out of your friggin' mind. So just something that helped pass the time. That really helps too.
And if
Yeah,
if
we've talked about that a bunch, about just filling your time, filling the waiting time with something can just help with that whole mental part of things. And if you're in a survivalist type of situation where you're stuck somewhere in the middle of nowhere and it's like minus a bazillion and you're cold and you're not getting anywhere, but you've got something to take your mind off it for a little while, it's amazing what that could do.
Yeah, definitely helps pass the time for sure.
I've got another question here in the live chat again from Shelter Fire Water First Aid and Rescue. Suggestions for a cell phone booster. So interesting question. Cell
I
phone
have
boosters
heard
are
good
only
things.
as good as the signal that is already around you. So if you have no signal, the booster is going to do nothing for you. It needs to be able to actually get some part of a signal in order to boost it for you. As far as actual suggestions go, there's all kinds of different companies that make them, so you can get them pretty much anywhere. Same kind of rules for purchasing. You don't want to buy the lowest, cheapest one available that comes off of like Temu or whatever. But the biggest, highest, most expensive one in the world is probably not what you need. Something mid-range. I know they go for around $300-400 is probably about your mid-range for cell phone boosters. But it's a common misconception that you can take it with you wherever and it just gives you cell phone signal. It needs to have signal still in order to be able to boost it and give you signal.
So I would suggest looking into if CB signals work there. Talk to local ham guys. Maybe that's an option of workaround of those cell phone dead areas. That maybe there's a repeater around, or at least somewhere where you can get some signal, or a CB. I don't know how they're different, but just anything.
Case, if you don't want to do local and you've got an HF setup, you can talk to somebody somewhere in the world that can get you help.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
and all it is a wire. All it is a wire. It's easy to set up, but that's local communications is going to be your primary, right? You want, like Pierre was saying, some kind of a CB setup or ham radio, like UHF, VHF, localized repeater setup. That's going to be your best chance of getting help pretty quick, or at least somebody local in the area that knows the area and kind of figure out where you're at. But if you have HF capabilities as well, and you can either you've got the capability in your vehicle already with an antenna built into the car, or you've got a portable system that you can hop out of the car, throw a wire in a tree, and start calling for help. You'll get somebody eventually. But always start local. Don't go to the worldwide stuff off the hop, even though it sounds cool. Stick local first, and then go HF from there.
Yep, exactly. Because after running that route and almost getting stuck down there, I did wind up putting in a 75 watt striker, 10 meter in my car. And my brother has a big base station up here in Nebraska. And I said, I've got enough power. I can reach him from where I'm at. And I was in the free 10 meter where you didn't need the license in it. And I was 8630. And but if I knew if I ever got stuck down there, then he's always got his radio on. So if he hears my call out, then he definitely knows something wrong. So lucky I never had to use it for that. But
but that speaks to planning ahead, right? You have a comms plan. You have somebody that is listening. They know if they hear you, something's up, and they know your route. They know where you are, and they know how to go get you. So it's perfect. It's a perfect setup, right? And you know that it'll work for you. So
Yep.
It's fantastic. We had another Melissa in the live chats made a couple other comments here about heated jackets. Fantastic inventions.
Yes.
Gloves and socks in the car always have extra. It's amazing what a fresh pair of socks will do for morale. It's just awesome. And then, of course, switch out the batteries regularly to ensure they'll work because, if you've got batteries in that heated jacket, but you haven't checked it in like a week or two, they will drain on their own. So, and depending on the makeup of the battery and the type and et cetera. But it's always good to check your stuff over. And
we've got the Milwaukee ones. So they take 12-volt Milwaukees. I know Brad last year found a sweater on Amazon. I think he said it was about $75. And it was just a battery pack. And they've recommended, I think, over 10,000 and above milliamp. And it just sits in a pocket, USB plug, and high, low, medium. Yeah. And he loves it. And I'm like, oh, I got to get me one of those. Like, I've got the Milwaukee one, right? And I've got the batteries, but eventually those batteries are going to go and that, just like the jacket will, just like the sweater will. But, you don't have to go out and buy a whole other tool. I can pretty much guarantee all of us have got at least one battery backup somewhere, probably in the vehicle that you're going or in the bag. Right. So having that sweater and even just socks and the hand warmer packs and the feet warmer packs or whatever. Even if you're sitting there, crack those, shake them up, shove them in your boots. Yeah, they're uncomfortable, but you're not going for a hike. You're just trying to keep those extremities warm. It can be a godsend.
They are a godsend. And you guys know that they do make the chest ones now.
Yeah, they have stick-on patches.
Yep.
Yeah,
and
they work a little bit better. They work really well. I haven't used them personally, but Mel has. We were going hunting and she found some body ones and she was putting some on because the cold will affect some of her past injuries or whatever. So she keeps those areas warm. And she's like they work. They're almost like what's it called? Like those icy hot patches or whatever you can buy for whatever. And they're pretty much that, but they're just the heated ones. Yeah, they work fantastic. She
they do.
Strongly recommended them. Yeah,
they do. And just don't try to do at least the experience that I had. Don't stick it directly to your skin because after a little while that will have a tendency to burn if you're not careful.
Getting a little too hot at that point. Yeah,
just a little bit.
So kind of stick it to your t-shirt inside your sweater. Right.
Don't be like this. Don't be like this guy because, like I said before, if you're gonna be dumb, you better be tough. Another thing, really quick on the batteries. Get a battery tester for your AA's, AAA's, and everything like that. Whether it's a full digital one or the old school analog with the needle that you just move the slide up and down and test the batteries. It'll do buttons, 9 volts, and everything. So just doing a quick touch on that. Test your batteries.
Or be really efficient with your multimeter.
Yes.
Exactly. You can do that too. Yeah.
I already have a multimeter, so I'm like, okay, turn it to voltage. But I mean, obviously both work. But I mean, instead of buying another gadget, like I'm sure Eric has a multimeter, and he'd be pretty easy to figure out if the AAA's got voltage or not.
Are you suggesting I shouldn't buy another thing?
Yeah,
I should just use what I have.
Yeah.
Come on.
But that also justifies buying the fluke meter. Right?
Well, I justified that years ago without having to test batteries.
Right? So which way, maybe have both, but also, if you've got a multimeter, YouTube it before you have to in case you can't find that gadget in your gadget drawer. Learning how to read batteries with the multimeter, making sure you don't touch the extremities, those metal pieces with your fingers.
I like that I've been able to justify purchasing a new fluke meter. That's good.
Yes. One is none. Two is one.
Two is one. And then both can test batteries. I can test multiple batteries at once.
You can test the other multimeter with the other so you're just double check. You're saving yourself having to send it.
Quality control. I like it. It's good.
I like it.
Excuse me.
Yeah. All right. What else do we got for winter preps? Anything?
Somebody threw this out in the comments. Thick wool socks, and yeah,
Yes.
that's
Yes.
godsend. Godsend. And now I actually just picked a pair up about a week ago. They are making wool socks that actually have the pockets to put those feet warmers in. And that's the first I had seen of them, and I was like, brilliant.
Yeah, I
Brilliant.
have seen they've started doing that even with gloves, so you can put them on the backside
Mm-hmm.
of your hands or mittens. Yeah, they've started
Yep.
doing that. Yeah, just because they're like, well, people are doing this, and everybody's complaining. They put it on the top of their feet, and they walk a little bit, and then it ends up under their feet. And yeah, they just incorporate a few extra stitches, charge you an extra $5. Excuse me, it makes it very convenient for you, a lot less shitty to walk, but also keeps it where you want to keep stuff warm. So.
Yep.
Like,
And the wife did pick up a pair of those gloves that just has the little zipper right on top. You just open it up, shove it in there, zip it up, boom, you're done. And haven't tested them yet, but I'm sure it'll work great.
Yep. Well,
like
the
it.
weather's coming. You'll be testing those real soon.
It's already here.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, actually today we picked up or I picked up 2 sets of battery operated heated gloves. Because I'm like, we've all done the snowblower, or you're just doing stuff outside where you still got to get stuff done. I know my hands get real cold real fast, same with my feet. So whatever I can do to try and mitigate that and still get the work done compared to just being grumpy and inside and having an
Just
excuse
grumpy
to have
everywhere.
Yeah,
Grumpy outside. Got it.
Yeah.
So we've touched on animals, outdoors, vehicles, your recreational vehicles and your everyday kind of travel type of vehicles. Let's not forget about even just your home, right? And having that prepared for the snow that is already here, but keeping it clear, keeping your vents for your fireplaces or your furnace or your chimney for your wood stove clear, because as the snow builds up, it can cover those venting locations up, and before you know it, you're all plugged up and you're not venting things outside and they're venting inside where they shouldn't. And then Alan's screaming about carbon monoxide. Again.
Yeah. I can hear it faintly in the distance.
Yes. Yeah. You say carbon monoxide 3 times fast and then follow it up with saying Alan. I think he appears, but we won't test that tonight. We'll let him sleep. but just keeping an eye on things around the house, right? So you've got your vehicle all figured out. Keep the same things in your house ready to go, right? Keep an extra little bit of canned food ready. If for whatever reason this big snowstorm comes through, like just happened here recently, where people couldn't get out of their houses for 3 or 4 days, you've got the food that you're going to need. You've got a way to keep a room warm if you have no power and no way to get your furnace going. You have all the necessities you need to get you through for a couple of days, a week, 2 weeks, however much you can plan for. You don't have to have a massive stockpile that's going to last you years right off the hop. Eventually, you want to be there. But off the hop, just being able to get through a week, right? It's better than probably anybody in your neighborhood's going to be able to do, right? So just having that all ready and mimicking what you do with your vehicles in your household or vice versa. It's going to be similar scenarios that you're getting ready for there. And then you're set in case something does happen, because again, guaranteed eventually it will. It's not if, it's a matter of when you're going to get that big dumping of snow, or you're going to get stuck, or you're going to have that long-term power outage that's going to happen in the middle of the summer, as we may as well add some heat preparedness into this episode as well. It's just, or you might even get that long-term power outage in the middle of the winter time. And now what, right? Things are going to get cold. They're going to get cold real quick. In the middle of the summer, you can get through that. Things can still work, and it's easier to get through. In the middle of the winter time, once things start to get cold in your house, it's not good, right? No. So, and it's really kind of everything kind of mimics itself with the vehicles and the household preparedness. Just maybe the household's a little bit of a bigger scale. Vehicles is a smaller scale because it's a smaller area, right?
Right. One of the things I will bring up on food that is really easy to store, especially if you have kids, canned or powdered milk, because so much of that baking or the kids, you can't get out for a week or two and the power goes out or something like that. And we go through milk like crazy because I have 3 kids. Uh, but having some of that on hand
Yep.
for baking purposes or whatever, for cooking or whatever, because, one can, some water, mix it up, and if the kids don't like it all that great, sprinkle in just a tiny bit of sugar on top of that, it's gone.
Yeah, a drop or two of vanilla extract too, and all of a
Yep.
sudden it's a milkshake.
There you go.
Right?
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's one of the cheapest things a guy can store and have, a case of it
Yep.
for, I don't know, it's pretty cheap. So yeah, that's one of the godsends that I really came across in the last 4 or 5 years, especially with having kids.
I like it. Melissa in the live chat just says, I want to build a snowman inside. It's Christmas. And to that, I say, dedicate a room to be the cold, full of snow room when the power goes out. And there you go. And just put some, some maple bacon in there, and away you go. Or buffalo maple bacon in there. And I got bacon on the brain tonight, and away you go. So,
So what she's saying is she wants to build a beer cooler in the house. Is that what I heard?
That's what that is. Yep.
It's a whiskey cooler. Don't worry.
No, there you go. There you go. Whiskey cooler.
It's a whiskey cooler.
And Scott in the live chat just mentions for household, have plastic sheeting that you can close off areas of the house and only need to warm a little area you're in.
Yeah.
Fantastic tip.
Or if you have an abundance of blankets, you can replace that with, say you have 40 blankets, like at my house. I got fucking bins of blankets. I don't even know where they all showed up. You can use blankets instead of plastic sheeting, tarps, all the things. Cordon off somewhere and keep the heat, keep your essentials there. So you're not to say that the rest of the house isn't worth heating. But your clothes upstairs in your bedroom, if that gets cold, it gets cold. You got to worry about your water, where you're going to sit, where you're going to stay. Definitely worth looking into.
Well, absolutely. We got any other last minute thoughts on winter preparedness or anything else we want to touch on before we move along? And just noting we're getting into the hour point here.
I've got one thing. Okay. Winter projects. We all like being outside. We all some of us like being outside, but it's easy to get lost in summer projects because it's nice out and you want to go barbecue and you want to have friends over. And when winter, we all tend to hibernate inside, keeping, whether it be renovations, little projects, DIY projects, learn a new skill, something for, we get that crazy cold snap where it's like nobody's outside for 2 weeks unless you absolutely have to. You can only watch so much Netflix. It's easy to go down that hole of just watching TV and not doing anything, but keeping yourself some little projects and little goals that you were like, hey, this winter I want to make a puzzle a week, put everything away. I can't sit by the fire in the backyard because it's too cold, but still disassociate from all that stuff that you would normally do and make something inside. Family game night more prevalent compared to sitting in the backyard by the fire, with friends and company. Doing little things like that can probably work wonders for your sanity, and just to keep you on your toes and keep the mind fresh and something to keep you going.
Good point. Well, fantastic point.
Yeah.
Especially with winter and the daylight being scarce, and most people that are working during the day go to work and it's dark out. You go home at the end of the day, it's dark out. It's easy to fall into that rotation of just it's dark all the time, and I'm just gonna plunk down in front of Netflix and that's it. So fill in the time with some things that are keep the mind going, keep you thinking, keep you learning, keep you doing something. No, great point.
One little quick thing on the clothing for cold weather. My super heavy duty jacket is Hunter Orange. So if that's in the car with me or something, and I do happen to get stuck or something, spin out, wipe out in the ditch, and I'm trying to get myself dug out or something, and there are vehicles going by you, have some kind of reflective material, especially if you have to get out and let's say you know where the place is at and it's not snowing that much, and it's like, okay, well, I've got the gear. I'm only half a mile away from such and such house. I can walk there. I don't have to worry about it. Have something highly visible on, whether it's a vest or your coat is like blaze orange or something like that, just so that way other people can see you, especially if visibility is down just even a little bit. Man, that makes a big difference. All of a sudden you're coming out, then 50 feet away, you're in the middle of the road and you have to land on the brakes. Person can't get stopped.
Yeah.
So it's just a good idea to be visible, especially that time of year where visibility can really suck.
Yeah, that's a fantastic point as well, because a lot of the time in the preparedness mindset, you get people that always focus on not being visible and mixing into that crowd or disappearing into the forest and not being seen. But there's a lot of times where you want to be seen, and that's exactly one of them. Because bright clothing, it's not everyone's going to see you because it's just the way it works. So some people just don't see everything because they're very focused on what they're doing or they're texting or whatever. Exactly, Pat's got it. But it's good to have that because majority of people will see you or will at least notice something out of the norm, being that bright orange jacket that Pat talked about. And then you're seen, right? Because that's a scenario where you want to be seen. So when you're looking at your preps and what you're carrying, what you're doing, it's all based on what it is that you think you're going to end up in scenario wise. And maybe you want to pack both things, something that's going to help you conceal yourself if you need to be hidden for a situation you find yourself in, and something that helps you be visible if you're in that situation where you're just walking to that place for help and you're on the side of a busy road and you want to be seen. There's always those two scenarios. But I think in the preparedness world, everybody usually focuses on the I don't want to be seen part, and they lose focus of the I should be visible in certain scenarios.
Yeah. You don't always want to be the gray man in every situation.
Not always.
There's definitely some situations where you want to be visible.
And I would even say, if you don't already have an orange one, don't even bother going out and buying a new jacket. If you've already got a good jacket, those safety vests that you can just pop right over, they pack so small, smaller than a pair of socks. They fit in there great. High vis. I would recommend having more than one, just in case you're bugging out with the bag. What's the point of having a high vis vest under the bag? You can strap it to the bag and have one in front of you. They're just a few bucks. You can buy them almost anywhere. I'm pretty sure the Dollarama has one at some point, right? Like they are so dirt cheap. And having two of those tucked away somewhere in the bag, you can put one on yourself, put one on your bag if you've going with the bag. Probably be a little more visible, and now you can still keep it on your gray man stuff that you can rip those off and go in the woods and not worry about being seen.
And I'll tell a funny joke about that orange jacket that I got. I got that, and my dad, first time he saw it, he goes, "Geez, why'd you get that ugly orange thing?" And I said, "Well, Dad, so that's why if I ever break down in the wintertime or something, and it's snowy, or if I go to break ice on a pond or something like that, people could find the body." I know that's a little dark, but I have a dark sense of humor. So.
Nothing wrong with dark humor. It's welcome around here.
All right, that's good.
You should hear what I don't say on the air.
Do tell. Do tell.
The pre-show meetups can get a little dark at times.
Yeah, but we could turn this into a competition.
Game on. Challenge accepted. All right. Well, speaking of challenges, maybe with that we'll move into the podcast challenge for this episode. And shockingly, winter's here if you haven't noticed. So if you're not already ready, do something about it. Right? Grab those hand warmers, grab another jacket, do something, get your car or your mode of transportation, have some stuff packed in there and ready to go in case you get stuck. do something small. Doesn't have to be anything major. Doesn't have to be anything huge. Just do something small to get yourself one step closer to being ready for a winter preparedness type of situation that you might find yourself in. Upcoming events. We've got the annual Preppers Meet coming up July 10th to the 13th. So that's going to be a good time. As always, the Slovenian Hunter and Anglers Club, just outside of Alliston, Ontario. So get ready for that. It's going to be a good time. It always is. So we don't have Jeff's weather blurb today because he decided to not show up. Thanks for not showing up, Jeff, because now we don't know what the weather's going to be like for the next week.
I have a feeling it's cold as fuck.
I think it's going to be cold.
Yeah, here's the weather blurb. It's fucking cold outside.
And there's
perfect.
Might be some snow, so make sure you got it.
Might be some snow. Yeah. So if you're looking for an update in the weather and you want to get Jeff's reports, he puts them quite often in the Discord. So check out the Discord and he'll get you updated as soon as he's done out playing on the snowmobile trails, which is where he's hiding tonight.
Yeah,
because we got some snow because it's wintertime. All right. Well, with that, I'll bring episode number 256 of the Canadian Prepper Podcast to an end. You can find the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or of course your favorite podcast app. Do submit a review wherever you listen. It does encourage the algorithms for a little bit to kind of promote us until they realize it's a preparedness podcast and they shove us back down to the bottom. And we do record the shows live on YouTube, Facebook, if you have to be there. If you want an early peek at the shows, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. It's the Canadian Prepper Podcast. You can click the notifications tab. That gives you an alert when we're going live. And where can everybody get a hold of you, Pierre?
You can get me here most Sunday nights talking about this. You can find me Monday nights on the other CPP, Canadian Patriot Podcast on Monday nights. Or I don't know, we're on something for Off the Wall Customizing. Check the socialist medias. I think they're still active. If not, Off the Wall Customizing at Gmail. We probably can't get you anything for Christmas, but we can get you something for right after Christmas. We're busy. Golden Wire.
Fair enough. Is there anywhere people can reach out to you, Pat, if they want to touch base with you?
Yeah, I'm on YouTube at Pat in a Bunker. And my channel does shooting, hunting, my farm and ranch, just everyday stuff and stuff that I like to do, and I like to entertain and try to inform as much as I possibly can. Usually I put out a video a week on YouTube, and I'm also on Facebook at Hirsch, so you can find me over there. I don't post quite as much over there, but I do post, so you can catch me over there if you want to just swing in and say hi. So, but yeah, other than that, that's where you can find me. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, while you're hitting the subscribe button on our YouTube channel, head over to Pat's as well and subscribe over there. And you can check out Rapid Survival, rapidsurvival.com, and get me on the live chat. You can also email me at feedback@prepperpodcast.ca. So thanks for joining us. Until next time, be prepared, stay safe,
and keep learning.